Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. You know how I'm a bit of a sucker for a JLR car? Well, yesterday I was offered a very cheap Freelander 2. And I mean, seriously cheap. This is a 2010 Freelander 2 HSE, and I paid just £950 for it. So it is super cheap. So I could hardly say no, could I? It's been described to me as running, so we're off to a flying start, aren't we? It's also been described to me as being in quite good condition. So I thought for £950 for a 2010, there's got to be some profit in it for me, hasn't there? Got to be. Now it isn't all good news because there is a fault with the power steering. It isn't working. Apparently you need the upper body strength of Arnold Schwarzenegger just to do a 3-point turn, but we shall see. I've had faulty power steering pumps on Freelander 2s before. In fact, I did a video with a grey 2007 Freelander 2 last year sometime, I think, and the power steering pump failed, and I think it cost me about £300 or £400 to sort out. So if that's what's wrong with this, I think I'm still quids in. This one's a top spec HSE, but it's only the TD4E, which means it's only 2-wheel drive, not 4, so it isn't as desirable. But still, £950, just very cheap. It's done around 100,000 miles, so it isn't exactly high mileage either. I'm quite excited to see it, as you can probably tell. So shall we go and have a look at what's probably the cheapest Freelander 2 in the whole of the UK? I'll see you there. Well, we're here. I can't believe that's £950. That looks like such a bargain. It's black, probably Santorini, I guess, as they all were. It's got running boards, which I don't really like, but they're all right. Won't bother taking them off unless they're rotten. It's got the nice beige leather interior. That'll be a nice, oh, there's no privacy either. That looks really original. We've got a poppy on the front, some sort of lifeboat sticker on the back. How is that so cheap? We've got its original Conway Land Rover plate. It's a Welsh plate. Even the headlamps don't need buffing. There's going to be, well, no, I don't want to jinx it. I was just about to say, there's going to be very minimal work to do to this to get it retail ready. I like the Freelander 2. I've said this many times in previous videos, but they're a really good car. They really don't deserve to be tarred with the same brush as lots of other Land Rovers. Right, as always, then we're going to do a quick vehicle history check using Car Vertical. So this will tell us a bit more about the car. All you do is go to carvertical.com, type in the reg or the VIN. In this case it is Charlie Yankee 10 FFM. Check vehicle. This will tell us whether it's ever been stolen, written off, had a mileage rollback, or has outstanding finance on it. And there's something fishy with this. £950 is just too cheap. I know there's a fault with the power steering, but still too cheap. Anyway, this should tell us. The salesman didn't tell me that it was on the register or anything, but it could well be. I don't know why it's so cheap, because if I were asked to value a 2010 HSE Freelander, even with a faulty power steering pump, possibly, that's got to be worth 16, 1800 quid, you'd have thought. Right, this is currently checking database in dozens of countries, so this will tell us whether it's ever had a bump somewhere. The other good thing to mention is that we've got both keys, which straight away just makes me think it's a loved car. It's nice and original, no privacy glass, nothing like that. How weird. Right, the report's ready. So, view report. We're all clear. It's never been clocked, there's no outstanding finance, there's no recorded damage, and it's never been stolen. At its last MOT, it'd done 95,000 miles. Fairly consistent every year, about 6,000, 7,000 a year. That's all good. I don't get it. I think we're onto a win here. I'm not usually that lucky. Look at this, I mean the average market price for such a vehicle, £5,781. If you saw that on someone's forecourt for £5 grand, you wouldn't bat an eyelid, would you? Alright, so it's a manual 2.2. I quite like the manual gearbox in both the Discovery 3 and the Freelander. They're a good, strong, solid box. It was inspected, let's see if there are any advisory items on the last MOT. It's had a licence plate change. There have been no advisory items for the last 4 or 5 years. Which tells me straight away that someone's looked after this. I don't get it. Let's have a look around it then. See if we can work out why it was so cheap. Okay then, let's get this show on the road. I mean, even from here, we're a few metres away, it looks like it's got decent tyres. That, for example, is a Pirelli. It's actually quite close to the limit, to be fair. And it looks quite old, that. Still, I'm not complaining. At least someone's put proper tyres on it. It could do with a good buff. It's quite straight on the panels, but there are a few little scratches and it's quite dull. The trim there is broken. Nothing too bad though so far, is it really? We've got a Pirelli P0 on the front on about 3.5 mil, 4 mil of tread. That's pretty good. That doesn't need replacing. Being the top spec HSE, we've got front fog lamps, headlamp wash, all that sort of stuff. 2 sunroofs. Ah, there's a sticker there. It looks like from Land Rover for a service. Actually not Land Rover, somewhere called Stone Lake. I was thinking as I was walking through it, maybe that's the reason it's so cheap. Maybe there's no history. But there's one service recorded at least. The wheels could do with being refurbished, but I don't think I'll bother. Another Pirelli on about 3 mil. That's not too bad. A few scratches down here, but I could carefully touch those in and just take your eye off. That'd do, wouldn't it? I think it'd look better with a clean. It's metallic paint, which looks quite nice in the sunshine. We've got another Pirelli on the back, so we've got a full house of Pirellis. That's quite close to being on the legal limit there, so we're probably on about 2 mil. So in a few months, that's going to need rear tyres. That's quite good though, I'm quite pleased with this. We've got matching Conway Land Rover plates. Might replace that with a large rear, like you would on a Range Rover. So it's the TD4E, which my understanding of that was that it's the 2-wheel drive version, but I'm not sure. I always thought the EVE, or is that the ED4? Not sure. It's got parking sensors on the back, parcel shelf still there, and it's got a load liner, that's good. Right, one of these keys doesn't work, so I'll have to replace the battery. Got a lifeboat sticker there. And a Great British Cycling Club member. Right, so that's a bit stiff. So we've got a load liner, which I always like to see because it means someone's taking a bit of pride in it. Oh, look at that. What looks like a mint Continental. It's a bit grubby, but it's in good condition, really. Parcel shelf works. It just wants a good old clean, this. In the back. Oh, I'm really pleased with this. The headlining's a bit dirty, but after a full valet, this will clean up really well. Oh, look at this as well. We've got rubber mats over carpet mats, and you could eat your dinner off those carpets, couldn't you? Someone's looked after this. Sad state of affairs, isn't it, when I get in a car that's relatively clean and I get really excited. More mats over mats here. Memory seats. Alpine surround. We've got powerful mirrors. They are a good spec. So, moving inside the Freelander 2, what have we got? So it's a 6-speed manual. Could do with a new gator, couldn't it? Because that's all a bit worn. Got auxiliary points there. Apart from needing a very good clean, still in good order. Now in terms of spec, what have we got then? We've got auto lights, cruise control. Alright, let's fire this up. We've got Greatest Hits FM there. A bit of, what's it called? George Harrison. So here then, we've got an MOT slip with no advisors, but we knew that. Sorry, no advisory items. And then here, we've got a receipt from Bridge Garage, VW specialist in Halifax. MOT and a full service at 95,000 miles. And power, oh, that's interesting. Power steering pump clicking, replaced with new pump. I don't like that. I was hoping that's what it was going to be. It can't, the second pump can't have failed at 5,000 miles, can it? So history then. There is a little bit because we've got one sticker there, which tells us that it was serviced at 90, oh no, next service due at 90k, or August 21. Okay then. So in terms of service records then, we've got quite a few stamps here. Conway Land Rover at 5, then again at 10, then again at 16, 17, 19, 30. This has got decent history, there's 44, 56. Will it come to an abrupt end? 64, 73, 81. Rear diff and Haldex. So it is four-wheel drive. I don't know what I was talking about with the E. Maybe the E's just lower emissions, I don't know. 87. Then again at 95, which we've got the receipt for. Then we've got some more pages here, because the book's getting full. That's a good sign, isn't it? Very good. Ah, right. This was one thing I was going to do to this car, because I thought at 100,000 miles it wouldn't have had its cam belt. And this 2.2 litre turbo diesel engine is due its cam belt at 150,000 miles or 10 years. And of course it's 14 years old. So when it was 9 years old and 64,000 miles on the clock, it had a new timing belt kit and water pump and new auxiliary belt. Someone's looked after this really well, haven't they? What's this fault with the power steering then? Let's fire this up then and see. Well, it fired straight up. This old 2.2 litre diesel engine is a bit gruff and agricultural, but I do quite like them. When they're warm, they're all right. They're quite smooth. So we've got no warning lights on at all. My air conditioning's working as well. So, power steering then. Let's try this, shall we? Right. Yes. That's a two-hand job, that. So there's obviously a fault with the power steering, but I was aware of that. But I wonder what that could be. If they replace the pump at 95, it obviously isn't that, is it? I was hoping it was going to be something straightforward, but it might not be. Let's have a look under the bonnet. Nothing in there, no goodies. No drawers under there either. Something's catching there, isn't it? I think the door card's rubbing on the rubber seal there. Oh no, it's not. It's that weather strip there, rubbing on the side step. Okay, well my gas struts are just about to fail. Still a little bit of hope there, but... Now, I know we're on a slight sort of incline here, but we've got power steering fluid. If you look there, it's right where it should be between minimum and max. How strange. Wonder what the fault could be then. Think it's the rack, maybe? I don't know. That wouldn't make much sense though, would it? I don't think. Right, we need some new boot struts, bonnet struts, should I say. Shall I attempt to drive this then and see if I can wrestle with the steering? Let's go for it. Okay then, let's get the Freelander 2 out on the road. Don't laugh when I try and do a 3-point turn in a second. Okay. So we're all good. Just waiting for my barrier to open there. It's easy when you get moving. There's a definite fault there then, isn't there? There are a few little rattles as well, like it's got a loose heat shield or something. I mean, when you get moving, the steering's not too bad. It's when you come to a stop. Well, apart from the heavy steering, it does drive all right. Pulls okay, it's not smoking. Clutch is nice, there's no rattles from the flywheel. I think my jack's loose in the boot. I'll let the Prius out. Yeah, definitely something loose in my boot there. The brakes work. I like these, you know, especially in a decent spec like an XS or an HSE. It's a really decent car. Well, I think because I don't really know what I'm talking about, I'm going to have to take this to my mechanic, get them to investigate the power steering and why it feels like it's in setting concrete. But I think I'll leave it for a service, get them to investigate the power steering and sort that out. Maybe 2 tyres then, for the back. Then I need to decide what to do with it. What do I do with it next? I think take it somewhere for a proper valet and a good buff, fresh set of plates. Standard stuff really, isn't it? Standard high peak autos treatment, isn't it? Do my windows work? Of course they do, it's a Land Rover. As if you had any doubt in your mind. My power mirrors work because they popped out when I unlocked it. That's all good. Although that one's a little bit jerky. Sat nav works. Oh yes. Oh, we've got DAB as well. I'd run around in something like this. I like it. Genuinely. And the fact it's manual makes me sort of like it even more. It's nice to drive something occasionally that you actually got to drive, isn't it? I spend a lot of time in my Range Rover that gives me a massage and all that sort of stuff, but it requires almost no input from me. It's nice to get in something that you've actually got to work a little bit. Although I'd rather not have to work the steering quite as hard, I must admit. Rather not have to break into a sweat when I try and do a 3-point turn. But this will make a car, this. No, it doesn't matter. I was just going to say I might keep it for a dog car, but I've already got my Berlingo. Don't really need another one, do I? It is a bit vibratey, isn't it? Could be engine mounts. Something's rubbing on something that's not quite right there, but I can get that sorted. But overall, it's pretty good. I think that's what I'm going to do now then. Take it straight down to my mechanics and get them to sort out this power steering. It obviously isn't the pump though, because that's been replaced. Which is a bit weird, isn't it? I'm glad I found that receipt. That's why you should keep all your bills in your car, to be honest. Well, it just helps the next person, doesn't it? You can see exactly what's been done and when, things like the timing belt and all that sort of stuff, because there was no sticker under the bonnet, so had that not been stamped in the book, I'd have no idea. There's a wad of paperwork as well, so I imagine there'll be a receipt to back that up. But it feels quite solid, it's not too bouncy, so my shockers are all alright. It's not knocking when I go over bumps, so my bushes and stuff are all fine. And it pulls well. Dare I try the sunroof in a Land Rover? Oh yes, look at this. Right, how do I close it? There we go. This is a nice car, you know. I like it. I think it's probably best if I keep my eyes on the road, isn't it, rather than up in the air. Try 6th gear. It's a nice slick gearbox, this. Right, wish me luck then. I'm going to drop this down at my mechanics and hopefully I won't have a massive bill. It can't be that big, can it? Because I've already saved myself £450 on a cam belt, which doesn't need doing for another 4 years or something. Happy days. Right, see you in a bit. I don't know what to say. You know how I always say, buy cheap, buy twice? Well, what I've done here, ladies and gents, is buy twice. I paid just £950 for this car, and my bill at my mechanics alone, just that one bill, was considerably more than £950. Hopefully you might find this reassuring, that somebody that does this for a living still occasionally gets things wrong. I say occasionally, it's more than occasionally, isn't it? It's almost frequently. But listen, I don't want to get bogged down with all that negativity, because I've got some quite exciting plans for this Freelander too. No, I haven't sold it for profit, sadly, but I think it's even better than that. I do have quite an exciting use for it. I recently bought a little cottage in Wales, which I plan to use as a holiday home. Now, it's nothing grand or flash, it's just a little 2-bed former miner's cottage, but it's quite quaint and quite cosy. In fact, it's over 200 years old, so it's got loads of character. And things like the stone walls, or when you look through the windows, the stone walls are about, well, they're almost a metre deep. It's a very old place. I haven't actually got the keys yet, but the last time I spoke to my solicitor, I should get the keys in between 4 and 5 weeks' time. Then the work can start. Now, it doesn't need a great deal doing. I've certainly had bigger projects, but most rooms need some attention. But it's going to need a new kitchen, new bathroom, new flooring, and redecorating top to bottom. And I'm planning to do some of the work myself, and it's 100 miles door to door. So I thought rather than take my very thirsty Range Rover, I'd use this. This will be perfect. Then once I've done doing up the property, I'll just keep it there and use it every time I go. It'll be ideal. I've recently realised that I work far too much, so I'm consciously trying to make more time for myself. So I thought if I've got a little weekend retreat, then I'll definitely use it, and I'll definitely then have the weekends off. The reason I think this Freelander 2 will be ideal is that it's 4-wheel drive, it's relatively cheap, so I won't be too precious about it whenever I need to do a tip run or transport tins of paint and, you know, wood and all that sort of stuff. I can throw the dog in the back and not really care about it. And also it should be quite a good vehicle for exploring all those little Welsh towns. I really don't know the area very well, so I'm quite looking forward to going and exploring. The other good thing about this particular Freelander is that it's on Welsh plates. It's come from Wales originally, so I'll look like a local. I'll fit in seamlessly. I won't stand out like a sore thumb. So that's my plan with the Freelander. I'm going to repatriate it. What do you think? Good idea? Bad idea? Let me know below. Anyway, back to my massive overspend. I've got several large bills there, which I'll talk you through. In fact, I can't do it while I'm on the road because there's too much to read. I'll park up somewhere scenic and I'll talk you through everything I've spent. It is considerable. It drives really well, this car now, you know. And I've already programmed Kistery into my DAB, so it's got everything that I'd need. It's got heated windscreen, heated seats, so it'll be nice and easy to live with come autumn and winter. That's what I'm really looking forward to, really. Getting there on a Friday night, getting the log burner going, and just chilling out. Switch my phone off so I don't get any miserable messages or problems that I've got to deal with, and then just chill out for a bit. Here we'll do then. Right. I just filled the tank full of premium diesel and it took £113, which is more than I was expecting. Right, we've got a right wad of bills here. I've just paid my bill, well, my weekly bill, which was, in case you're interested, £4,844 for 5 days. 5 days. Right, let me get my calculator out then. So I paid £950 for the car. It needed some bonnet struts. They were £10. Found those on eBay. I replaced the plates. Now, it had a large rear for a Range Rover, so that was £25, not 15, and the front was 10. I haven't had a valet done yet because I thought it's just going to get messy again anyway. It's quite clean. All I did was have a mini valet. That was £15. I think that's... Oh, I've ordered a new gear gaiter for it because this one's worn, and I can't tolerate that, really. I'd like to see a brand new one, so that was £10 from eBay. I can have a go at fitting that myself. That's no big deal. Just pop the trim off, and away we go. Right, let's see this bill then. So it needed a power steering reservoir. That was £37. I'm doing this in the wrong order, by the way, because I only discovered it needed a power steering reservoir after I'd picked it up the first time, and it still had that fault with the power steering. It's had a new power steering pump because the one that they fitted 5,000 miles ago had failed. That was £139.53, plus labour, plus fluid. So that was £337.84. You ready for the big one? It's now got a clean MOT, that was £40. It needed an alternator, that wasn't working. That's what they initially thought the fault was with the power steering. It didn't turn out to be that, but it needed one anyway. It needed new rear brake discs and pads. It needed front discs and pads. It's like a Halfords bill, this, isn't it? Offside front coil spring, that was snapped, which is weird because it must have snapped right at the top because I didn't get that boinging noise that you normally get with a cracked spring. It needed one tyre, so I got it to match the rest. So I put a Pirelli tyre on it. It needed a rear brake shoes and labour, and there was quite a lot of labour. So my total bill there was, you ready for this? Bear in mind I paid £950 for the car. £1,304.22. So that means this very cheap Freelander 2 now owes me £2,699.12. So it isn't cheap anymore, is it? This is what I always say to people. Anyway, just checking there are no more bills for it there. The money I spend, honestly, it's ridiculous. Now that was my first bill, £1,300. Then when I picked it up from there, I took it to the car wash, I realised the power steering, it was fine for the first sort of 3 miles, and then it started playing up again. So I ran it back there, and then that's when they discovered it needed a new power steering pump. And they said as well, my mechanic, that the fluid was, well, it should be green and it was black. So they had to flush it out several times, and there was some sort of fault with the reservoir, so that's been replaced as well. So it was quite a costly job in the end, but still, I'm quite pleased with it, because for £2,500 I've now got a pretty good workhorse, I think. Should do the job, shouldn't it? And like I say, it'll fit in Wales perfectly because it was a Conway Land Rover car originally. I don't want to go down some of those narrow country lanes as I'm getting lost in something like my Range Rover that I care about. I'd rather do it in something like this. If this gets covered in bramble scratches, no me importa, as they say in Spain. Well, I think that's about it, guys. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. I'll leave the link below. And let me spin around. Make sure I don't get written off here by a speeding tractor. That's still not right, is it, that steering? Okay then, well I'm going to head back to the mechanics then and drop this off and convey my dissatisfaction with this job and see if they can sort it. It might just want flushing again. They did say take it and try it, but it's been fine. And yet I tried to do a little 3-point turn then and it went more bandy. Let me try it again. Something loose in the back as well. Got a loose jack. I hate cars with a passion. Right, anyway, I'm sure it can be fixed. No point in stressing. See you in a bit.